In this simulation video, we'll be covering the process to connect an Evolution post to a double beam assembly using the 3.5-inch or 89mm double beam to post bracket. Before we get started, here's a list of the recommended tools and safety equipment you'll want to have on hand when working with our Evolution steel framing product. This example will be utilizing a raised deck setup with concrete piers and post-to-pier mounts. Note that the attachment of the bracket to the top of the post and beam will not be any different even if using a buried post setup. Also, for ease of workability, since the bracket will install in a T shape at the top of the post, it's best to use wood blocks or sawhorses to set the cut-to-height post on. Another item to have on hand is a piece of the double beam track that will connect the double beam setup. This will be used to accurately gauge the height and spacing for the bracket. This setup is now ready for the 3.5-inch post to double beam bracket. Note that just like other Evolution post-to-beam brackets, there are two main clamshells that make up the bracket. Unlike the other brackets, however, this bracket uses identical clamshells on each side of the post, meaning it will not matter which side of the post or deck these face or go on. More on this in a moment. For now, let's connect the clamshells to the top of the post. Since these brackets have no capping, simply slide them onto the post as shown. Then grab the piece of double beam track and position it up against the post, using the brackets to center it. Then slide the brackets up to the beam track. If this is done as shown, then the bracket will be sitting in the exact position to work with the post to catch the double beam. While holding the clamshells tightly or clamped in position, attach them to the post using 14 of the Evolution self-tapping screws. Fill any of the pre-cut holes starting with the top and sides first. Then roll the post assembly over and finish adding screws to the 4 remaining holes. The assembly is now ready to be raised and mounted to the pier mount. Here again, since both clamshells are the same, you can face either side away from the deck as shown. With some assistance, seat the post assembly in the mount, resting it on the standoff. Afterwards, use a total of 8 Evolution self-tapping screws to fill the 2 holes on each side of the pier mount, securing the post assembly in place. Repeat the process of attaching the bracket and then raising and mounting the post assemblies for the remaining connections in the build. Know that all posts must be temporarily braced until fully stabilized and permanently connected with framing or other structural members. For deck frames, this means that all beams, joists, hangers, and any blocking that shores up the structure should be in place before the bracing can be removed. In short, the deck frame should be fully assembled and secured first before bracing is removed from the assembly. With some assistance, seat the prepared double beam in place in the brackets, positioning it as required. Even if the double beam is secured inside of a double beam track, ensure the beam's orientation is with the weep holes facing down. Also, when preparing and positioning the beam should have equal overhang on each end of the deck. The overhang portion of the beam, however, should not exceed 24 inches. Once the beam has been properly positioned, install clamps as needed to help hold it in place until it can be secured with screws. A total of 14 Evolution self-tapping screws will be needed for each bracket. Secure all available openings on each side of the bracket assembly. Then remove the clamp and fill any remaining holes. Once this has been repeated for any of the other brackets on the same beam, then the beam-to-post connection has been completed and the build will be ready to receive joists. Note that the number of posts used to support a given beam and how far the joist can be cantilevered for drop beam builds is something that will vary depending on the span and load requirements of a build. Be sure to verify that a build will meet span and load requirements using the span and load charts Fortress has available online, or consult a structural engineer to verify adequate support is being used for a deck build. For more information on our steel deck framing products, including where to buy, stop by our website at fortressbp.com/framing. And don't forget to check out our other Evolution steel framing videos as we continue to help our customers steal the show.